Hey, what's up everybody? It's Rutech, and today we'll be going over the top 5 best laptops that you can get with a budget of $600. Now, I will be completely honest with you guys, price to performance ratio with laptops is really crappy. I definitely recommend that you go ahead and buy or build a tower PC before you get a laptop if you seek the best performance for gaming. As a matter of fact, none of these laptops that we'll be discussing in today's video even have a dedicated graphics card. And the reason for that is, well, $600 just ain't the price range that offers that kind of thing. But I did some researching and found the best computers with the best integrated graphics that the CPU provides with the absolute best gaming performance despite that. So let's get on with talking about these laptops. But before we do that, I would really appreciate it if you checked out my channel. I post PC tech videos among other things. Also, if you have any comments or questions as the video goes along, be sure to drop a comment, like the video, drop a like, and if you enjoy the content you're seeing, drop a sub. Really helps out the channel. Okay, so these laptops are in no particular order, so don't think the number 5 is the worst and the number 1 is the best. But stick around, I will mention my favorite of these 5 at the end of the video. So, number 5, we have the Dell Inspiron 2020 Premium 14-inch laptop. Has a quad-core i5 processor with a boost clock of 3.7 GHz, 8 GB of RAM, 256 GB of SSD storage, and a 14-inch 1366 by 768 pixel display, so it's not full 1080p. So let's talk about that processor since it's what will be doing most of the work for the gaming. It's an i5 1035G4, so it's 10th gen, which is the latest version of Intel chips, and it comes with Iris Plus graphics. Now, what is interesting about this is that Intel claims that their new Iris Plus graphics in their 10th gen CPUs will be able to play 1080p games at 2 times faster frame rates, which I imagine they mean compared to the last generation. This means that this computer will be able to run lower demanding games like Overwatch, Minecraft, Rocket League, Roblox, etc. at 60 frames per second, give or take, which is pretty impressive. iGPUs have come a long way, and this is a huge step for Intel here. So this Dell laptop can definitely game. Now, because this laptop has a display that is only 1366 by 768 pixels, you won't even need to worry about playing at 1080p. So you'll absolutely get pretty desirable frame rates with this laptop while gaming because of the trade-off of a lower resolution display. So make sure you're playing at your native resolution or lower when you're using this computer. Don't accidentally upscale to 1080p because that won't give you any benefits. In addition, it has the expected 8 GB of RAM, which will be fine for lower demanding games, of course, and 256 GB of SSD storage. 256 GB is definitely enough. Just make sure to keep an eye on it if you plan on storing things like videos or decompressed media on this device. Ports. Has one USB 2.0, one HDMI, 2 USB 3.0s, an SD card reader, Ethernet port, and one 3.5mm headphone jack. Next up, in the number 4 position, we have the Acer Aspire 3 A315-41R9J1. That is a pretty big mouthful. So this one has the Ryzen 7 2700U, 8 GB of DDR4 RAM, a 256 GB SSD, and a 15.6-inch screen with a full 1080p display. So right off the bat, I see some things I really like. Let's talk about that CPU for starters. Has the Ryzen 7 2700U with a boost clock of 3.8 GHz, which comes with the Vega 10 integrated graphics, which is actually pretty decent and is better than the Intel Iris Pro graphics in the last laptop we discussed. Also, this laptop has a full 1080p display that is 15 inches, so it has higher resolution and an extra 1.6 inches over the last one as well. This laptop has 8 GB of DDR4 RAM, which like I said should be fine, and a 256 GB SSD. And that's a good amount for this price. Overall, a really solid laptop. You should be able to run games like Fortnite at or around 60 frames per second at 720p, since this integrated GPU gives you a little bit of an extra performance boost versus the Intel one. And then lower demanding games being Minecraft, Rocket League, etc., of course, should be able to run at or around 60 frames per second at 1080p. Now, I will leave the link to a benchmark done by Tech Epiphany of this iGPU in the description by the affiliate link if you want to see the accurate measurements of this computer's gaming capabilities. So for ports, we have an Ethernet port, SD card reader, one USB 3.0, two USB 2.0s, a 3.5mm headphone jack, and one HDMI port. Next up, number 3, we have the HP 15DY1036NR. So this laptop packs a 15.6-inch screen, just like the last one, is full 1080p, a quad-core i5 1035G1 with a boost clock of 3.6 GHz, and 8 GB of RAM. So like the number 5 laptop we discussed, this has the Intel 10th generation integrated graphics, which is pretty decent like I said. And if you take a look here, it seems that the i5 in this laptop is better than the i5 in the number 5 laptop as well. Now it's only a roughly 5% performance difference, but if we're talking about mediocre chips like these, that is actually a kind of significant chunk of performance, so just keep that in mind. Similar to the last laptops, this should be able to run pretty much all low demanding games at around 60 frames per second 1080p, so that would be Minecraft, Roblox, Rocket League, etc. And then if you want to play something a bit more demanding like Overwatch or League, you might want to downscale to 900 or 720p. Finally, for ports, has two USB 3.1s, SD card reader, HDMI port, and a 3.5mm headphone port. Now surprisingly, there is no Ethernet port, so that's something to keep in mind if you purchase this. Now, in our number 2 position, we have the Acer Aspire 5 Slim Laptop. 15.6 inches, has a full 1080p display, 8th generation i5 8265U with a boost clock of 3.9 GHz, 8 GB of DDR4 RAM, and a 256 GB SSD. So once again, very similar specs to the last laptops we discussed, with the exception being, of course, the CPU. This one has the i5 8265U, which will only set you back about 5% performance-wise compared to the 10th gen in the other laptops, according to CPU Benchmark. It also has Intel Graphics 620. The 620 graphics are not the best, so if you're planning on playing games other than, say, Minecraft, Roblox, Rocket League, or other extremely low demanding games, I suggest you don't pick up this one. But the pro of this laptop is it has an IPS panel, so you're gonna get the most accurate colors with this screen, and you won't have to worry about what angle you're looking at the screen from. Now for ports, you get Ethernet, HDMI, 2 USB 3.1s, 1 USB-C, and 1 USB 2.0, so the typical ones you usually find. Finally, in number 1, we have the 2020 HP 17.3-inch laptop. Has the 8th gen i5 8265U, 8 GB of DDR4 RAM, and 256 GB of SSD storage. So it's the i5 8265U. It's the same processor as the number 4 laptop, meaning it has Intel 620 graphics. Also has a boost clock of 3.9 GHz and a 1.6 GHz base clock. The screen is 17.3 inches, but unfortunately is not 1080p, which is surprising. Instead, it only has a 1600 by 900 pixel display. So it looks like, at least with this laptop, the big pro is having a larger screen, but the downside is you don't get full 1080p. So in terms of its gaming performance, just like the rest we've discussed, this one is pretty lackluster. Intel 620 graphics isn't the most desirable iGPU, but it gets the job done for low demanding titles, like I've said for the millionth time. Another pro, but con at the same time with this laptop, is it doesn't have full 1080p. So as long as you play at your native resolution, you can expect to see higher frame rates at the cost of not being able to play at 1080p. Now, we've talked about 5 pretty similar laptops here, so which one is the best? For gaming, it looks like the Acer Aspire 3 A31541 R9J1 is the absolute best, and let me explain why. It has the Ryzen 2700U with the Vega 10 integrated graphics. The Vega 10 iGPU is surprisingly really good. I mean, I watched performance benchmarks on all of the CPUs and their integrated graphics capabilities for all of these laptops, and it looks like the 2700U is the only chip that was capable of holding on to 30 and above frames per second in higher demanding games. I kind of use GTA 5 as the baseline game, not because it's extremely popular, but because it usually gives you a good idea of where the processing unit stands in terms of its gaming performance. In addition, the Acer Aspire 3 has a full 1080p 15.6 inch display. With some of the other laptops that we discussed, they didn't have full 1080p, which is kind of disappointing, especially in 2020. Now, $600 is a lot of money, so paying that price for a laptop that doesn't even have a full 1080p screen? I mean, if you got one of those, you wouldn't even be able to see a 1080p YouTube video. That means you wouldn't be able to watch RooTech videos in full 1080p. Jeez, that just sounds wrong in this day and age. But another thing I like about this laptop is you can easily swap out the SSD or RAM as you please, so you can definitely get a slight boost in gaming performance by getting more RAM or replacing the stock SSD with a faster one. According to Acer, this laptop can hold up to 32 gigabytes of RAM, so it's pretty good stuff. Upgradability is always a huge plus. Now for its design, it's pretty nice. Like in this price range, you won't be able to find some crazy RGB fancy gaming design. But hey, this laptop is pretty good looking. It's what we like to call low profile. It's a basic black chassis design. Obviously, getting a good looking laptop doesn't boost your FPS. But hey, if that laptop becomes unavailable or out of stock, the other laptops discussed are still a worthy buy. After all, these are the top 5 laptops for this price range. All of these computers are really similar, so you'll only find a slight performance difference between these, so don't hesitate to get one other than the Acer I recommend. Anyway, that'll do it for this video. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, have any comments or questions, drop a comment below, and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. And if you enjoyed the content you're seeing, drop a sub. Thanks for watching. Peace out.